All right, this is going to be a pretty nerdy video, but it is a video that I'm making because it's a video I would have liked to have watched when I became a homeowner. And so maybe there's somebody out there who's going to find this and be grateful for it. So anyway, when I became a homeowner and I ran into paints and glues and labels and in general just anything sticky, I found myself wondering, when do I use lacquer thinner? When do I use acetone? When do I use mineral spirits, turpentine, all of these things? And it really wasn't that clear or obvious to me when to use which one. What I did find is that I could scrub and scrub and scrub all day with mineral spirits for a particular job and it do nothing, and acetone would fix it in like a second. And then vice versa. There was things when I would use acetone and it just wouldn't touch it at all. And then all of a sudden I would use lacquer thinner or mineral spirits and boom, lickety split, it fixed it. So what I did is I bought denatured alcohol, lacquer thinner, acetone, and mineral spirits, and I kept them here in bottles. I still keep acetone, alcohol, and lacquer thinner. I don't keep mineral spirits anymore just because I find that I really don't need it very often anymore. But you may have an application for that. That's fine. I'm not saying you don't need it. And what I like about these are 8-ounce little dropper bottles from Amazon. These, in my opinion, are a really serious total game changer because you buy these things in gallons and it's very hard to get a small quantity out. Pretty much the only way to get a very small quantity out is to put a rag over it, flip it over, turn it back over, but then your rag is wet and then it begins to, through capillary action, spread, and it's hard to get a little bit of solvent just in a specific location. Whereas with this, I can basically, put it exactly where I want and I can get the solvent right on whatever I'm trying to clean up. The other thing that's nice about those is you can do a little bit of testing. So if you have something sticky that you need to clean up, or you have a finish you're trying to get off of something, you can just do a little test with a little drop and see which one begins to dissolve the solid. So here's this just kind of a quick layman's version of what I found. So denatured alcohol is probably like the safest thing to use. And when I say safe, what I mean is it won't ruin the plastic or the wood or the metal or the glass that you're using it on. It won't peel the paint. It won't destroy the surface. And so I try, if I'm working on, let's say, something that I care a lot about the surface, maybe like a coffee table or something, I'll use alcohol because it's like the least aggressive is what I've found. The opposite end of the spectrum of that is acetone. Sometimes acetone will absolutely destroy things. There can be chemical reactions between this and certain plastics. As a quick example, that mask up there that I use for wood turning, if you get one drop of brake clean or acetone on there, the whole thing spider cracks and gets immediately destroyed. So acetone works really, really fast on a wide variety of things, but it can also destroy the substrate that you're working on. Lacquer thinner, I have found is kind of like the brother, if you will, to these two, or maybe the sister. Basically, there are sticky substances that denatured alcohol and acetone seem to not do anything for at all, and lacquer thinner just like cuts right through them really quick. And when I started doing small engine repairs, I was using lacquer thinner to clean carburetors, and it worked good. And then I realized that gasoline really works well too. And that's because I'm not a chemist, but I worked with several over my career at Volkswagen, and you don't have to spend too much time with a chemist before you hear the term like dissolves like. And so what you have to realize is that whenever you're trying to get something off of a surface like this, that's a solid. And you can scrape it off and chip it off, but if you want to wipe it off, you need that solid to become a liquid. And you basically do that by putting a liquid on that, which will soften the solid until it becomes either a liquid or until it like floats in the liquid, and then you can wipe it up. And so you can use something like gasoline in carburetors because the debris, unless it's corrosion, unless it's like a rust, the debris which is in carburetors comes from gasoline. And so the like dissolves the like. And so I put these two in this category. The other thing that is really, really useful and very safe is this Goo Gone. I don't like the Goof Off stuff, which is not citrus based. I tried it for a while. I didn't really like it, but this stuff works really well. It removes a wide variety of things, and I have never put this on something where it ruined the surface, whether it's wood, glass, a painted surface. I've never, this is like a really safe one, whereas these are more questionable. So the last thing I want to say is how often I prefer to use gasoline as a solvent. I use gasoline for all kinds of things, whether it's permanent marker or paint marker or adhesives, carburetors. I just use it a ton. And there's a couple reasons for that. One of which is I'm always working on small engines. And so I'm always dumping out old gas, which is not good enough to burn in the engine, but good enough to use as a solvent. The second thing is it's cheap. I don't care where you live. I don't care what you think of gas prices. Gas prices are extremely cheap. When you pay $3 or $4, I don't even care, $6 a gallon for gasoline, that is cheap. Lacquer thinner is close to $20. Acetone and denatured alcohol are close to $20 a gallon. This, I know it's aerosol, but this is $40 a gallon. If you divide 12.5 ounces into 128 ounces for a gallon, and I paid $4 for this, this is $40 a gallon, whereas this is less than $4. And so gasoline is an extremely inexpensive solvent, which you can use on cleaning the handles on tools. Most tools are gasoline safe because they know mechanics are going to be using them. Gasoline is safe on chainsaws and all the plastic that you find because they know customers are going to spill. And so it's just a really good solvent. And the only downside that I'm aware of is that it's flammable. Of course, these other things are also flammable, extremely flammable, vapors, denatured alcohol, it's fuel. So almost all this stuff is flammable. And I don't really know that gasoline is more or less flammable, but I know I've been using it for almost 4 years to clean out engines and carburetors and a host of other things. I've never had it catch fire. I've never had a flame, nothing. And so there's obviously some people who won't be convinced to use gasoline under any conditions. And some of you might think that 4 years isn't long enough to give an opinion. That's fine. But I'm just telling you my own personal experience. So anyway, if you're a new homeowner, I would really suggest that you get yourself some Goo Gone. That's going to be your safest choice. Get yourself some denatured alcohol. Get yourself some acetone. Get yourself some lacquer thinner. And then find a way to store a little bit of gasoline. And you may not need this if you're not doing engine stuff, but I would only go for mineral spirits if you find that you need it. But these are really the go-to for me as a homeowner. I've owned a home now 9 years. And this has just been my setup. And lastly, I would really consider buying some of these 8-ounce dropper bottles. I've had these capless for almost 10 years. I've never had significant effects from evaporation. And you would be amazed how much more convenient it is to grab one of these little bottles of acetone and go somewhere in your house to do something and just get a few drips instead of carrying that thing around and wasting a ton and spilling a ton. So yeah, kind of nerdy video, but I hope it helps someone. If not, give it a big thumbs down so that I know you're not interested. And if you're into home ownership and all that kind of stuff, you might consider checking out a guy named Essential Craftsman. Very interesting guy, Scott Wadsworth. I've learned a ton from him, and I hope you do too. All right, folks, take care.